Vince Gilligan and Apple TV have recently teamed up for the release of Pluribus, and following the first 2 episodes being released, it left my mind in a state of shock. Shock because I was so impressed at what I'd just watched, but also confused because the concept of the series was so mind-boggling and thought-provoking. With us needing to wait almost a week until the 3rd episode, I thought I'd give my theories and predictions on what I think could happen following Carol running off the plane and standing in front of the other one. So let's get into it. Here is Pluribus Episode 3 Theories Explained. Just to let you know, this video will contain spoilers from the first 2 episodes. Carol will get Zotia. The final moments of Episode 2 saw Carol looking out of the window of the plane and watching as Zotia was about to get onto Kumba's plane, Air Force One. Carol acted as though she didn't really care about what happened to Zotia before she left, even though she knew that Kumba would most likely take advantage of her, as that's what he'd been doing with all of the other women that were a part of the collective mind. However, with her running off and standing in front of the plane grinding it to a halt, I think we're going to have seen her change her mind and she'll confront Kumba, unleash hell on him in the form of insults, call him the likes of a pig and say that Zotia should go back to Albuquerque with her. Zotia will most likely comply with the request that Carol makes. As we heard before, it was down to Carol if she went with her because she was specifically selected for her because she looked like the female version of her book character, Raban. Carol having a sense of care for Zotia and feeling responsible for her safety is something that I believe will prove to be important in the overarching story. The show's all focused about if humanity's worth saving, right? And Carol being that one good human out of the 12 so far shows that humanity does stand a chance if it's to be saved. Zotia is one person, but she's also everybody. And even though Carol knows that, I think the more that she speaks with her, the more she'll view it as if she's speaking with Zotia in the singular form, and there'll be some kind of connection that ends up forming between them. We've already seen a duty of care with the way that it looks like she's going to be taking her off the plane. So I just think that will continue to develop the more they get to know each other. I reckon Carol will actually look to get to know the real Zotia that's behind the sea of voices and the many billions of minds that are within her head, and that will ultimately be the beginning of how that comes about. The backstory of Carol. One thing that we're yet to truly understand is the backstory of Carol and how she ended up being the most miserable person on Earth, like the show claims she is, and also how she ended up down this career path of writing novels that she refers to as mindless crap. Even though we didn't get a full understanding of why she hated her life, there were glimpses in the first 2 episodes hidden in the background of signs that she was unhappy. For example, we saw that she had a breathalyzer in her car which prevented her from using it if she'd had a drop of alcohol, which makes me think that she's had some issues in the past which led her to being caught drink driving. Plus, her first response to everybody's mind being taken over when she was speaking to the president was to hit the bottle that was in her home. So I feel like alcohol could be something that has dictated a lot of her life in the past and has controlled her to a degree. This makes me think that she wasn't always the success story that she is, and there could be some kind of flashback that occurs. We also know that Carol is somebody that wasn't open and honest with the readers of her novel and her fans about her sexuality. Nobody knew that she was in a relationship with a woman, her manager, and she initially wanted the novel series that she created to be one that was focused on 2 women, but she changed it because she thought it would be easier. And the novel that she'd been writing in the shadows and never published was something that she'd never released because she thought that she'd face backlash. With her sexuality being something that she's been fearful of embracing in the public light, it makes me wonder if we could see a bit more of an understanding as to why that is. Is it because of the fame she has? Is it because of her parents or family not being accepting of it? Or is it because she was just fearful of being her true self? But now, with Helen being gone, I fear that backstory could be something that ties into an element of regret that she'll have, because now it's too late to live the life that she always let pass her by. There was a line in the first episode of the show that Helen said to Carol before she died, and I think it's going to be of a large importance for the wider part of the story. Helen said, "You make at least one person happy, it's not art, it's something." This was about the book that Carol had wanted to write properly and release but had never gotten around to it because she didn't know if people were ready for it. With her being with one person, Zotia, but within reality it actually being everybody because their minds are all connected, I think we could potentially see that situation playing out and Carol actually impacting people on a larger scale. Carol is an individual that wanted to escape her life for the longest part of her existence, but now, with her being presented with the possibility of escaping it, we're seeing her fight with all of her might and intelligence to hold on to it. It's a really interesting and thought-provoking subject, especially when seeing as though now she's not got the love of her life in her life either. So I think that complex will get played on more too, the desire of why she wants to stay when she's wanted to escape for her whole life. Now, I'm sorry to interrupt the video, but if you're enjoying it, then if you could give it a like and subscribe to the channel, that would mean a lot. It helps out. Thanks. The moral beliefs of the collective. The moral beliefs and behaviours of the collective is something that I feel is of great importance from the first 2 episodes. During the second episode, we found out that they can't cause harm to another living being deliberately, and they also don't want to hurt the feelings of another human too. This was shown to us when Zotia didn't want to decide who to go with out of Kumba and Carol because she didn't want to hurt anybody's feelings. The fact that they can't hurt anybody is something that I think will be interesting, because one would imagine that if Carol can openly say to them how she doesn't want to become part of the hive mind, could it put them in some kind of moral complex where they'll want to spread and recruit more, but because technically it would hurt Carol because it's not what she wants, then they might not be able to. It'll be interesting to see if that's like a catch-22 situation for them. Carol is pretty much on her own now, following her ostracizing herself from the rest of the group that were in control of their minds because they were quite happy living as they were and not looking for a cure, even if it meant eventually becoming part of the hive mind. So I think we're going to continue to see her looking to find a cure for all of the world being under the control of a singular mind. Happiness, love, and the feeling of paradise is what it was described as. We know that anger and frustration and an overbearing sense of emotions is something that triggers the collective into a state where they end up fitting, and they can eventually all be harmed. So I'm wondering if Carol is going to be able to work on something like that in order to find a cure. Anger causes a reaction, but what if kindness, love, and affection has a different effect? It could be a possibility. I also think the collective mind could work in a different way in the next episode too. We've seen Carol be the person that's triggered a negative response on several occasions for the hive mind, but I think we could end up seeing Carol experiencing something happening where she won't have been fully responsible for the people descending into chaos, and it could be because of somebody else. Maybe one of the 12 that we've not actually met yet. I'd like to think that as well as hearing about Carol's backstory a bit more, we might end up hearing a bit more about the virus's backstory, how many planets it could have potentially taken over, and what the benefit for them is in taking over an entire species. There are genuinely so many different directions that this next episode could go in. Personally, I think it's going to be a more intimate episode like the beginning of the second episode, and we could end up seeing it mainly being focused around Carol and Zotia, but I would like it if there was some kind of flashback. I think it would help when it comes to understanding Carol just a little bit more, and finding out how she ended up on this pathway where she didn't really value her life. I also think the question of the world being a better place without humans in control due to world peace actually being present is something that I'd like to see being explored too, ultimately tying into the wider question of if the planet will be better off with the human race being saved or not. So, there you have it, Pluribus Episode 3 Theories Explained. If you want to see more of your favourite TV series and movies being broken down, then check the playlist below, and don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss future videos. What do you think will happen next? Share your thoughts in the comments. As always, thanks for tuning into the video, and I'll see you in the next one.